Hey everyone, this is my Fractal FM9 Chimera preset walkthrough. This preset is free, so go to thetoneshepard.com/chime and snag it for free along with the Helix preset, Tonex captures, quad cortex captures, and more. All my Chimera resources are absolutely free on my website, so check them out. But this video is dedicated just to a simple preset walkthrough, just to show you the tones and how the preset works within the FM9. So there's nothing fancy about this walkthrough at all. I'm just going to start with the clean channel. I'm going to show you the scenes and all that. I've got a different video to show you how to import these presets and all that, but let me just start with kind of the bass tone. So this Chimera preset, this one preset contains 4 different IRs and 4 different amp settings that mimic my capture process. So I've captured the Chimera for, again, like I said, Tonex and quad cortex and NAMM and all that. And during that capture process, I created several different variations of this, which then I tone matched in the Fractal. And so essentially I took an impulse response and then matched that impulse response and an amp model in the Fractal to get as close as humanly possible to the original captured amp. And so if you look at the cab block here, that will inform you as to what sort of tones I've got going on in each channel. So in channel A, on each amp block and the cab block, I have a humbucker variation with the Benson speaker. So it says HB Ben 1, which if you look at my website and look at the captured variation definitions, you'll see that each one is described tonally, what they mean, all that. So basically if you're on channel A for both amp blocks and the cab block, you're going to be hearing this capture variation, Benson 1, the humbucker variation. If you go to channel B on all 3 blocks here, you're going to get the Benson 3 variation, which is a dual mic'd version, and it sounds a little bit different. I'll show you that in a second. If you go to C, you're going to get the V.S.O.P, which is a different speaker entirely and a little bit brighter. Still voiced for humbuckers in my view. And then channel D, you're going to get the single coil version of the Benson speaker. And so how you do this on each block at the same time, you go up to the scene manager button and basically you select amp 1 here, amp 2 here, and cab 1. Make sure these are all on the same channel. So if all 3 of these blocks are on channel A, then you're using the Benson 1 variation. If you go and click this and say channel B in all scenes and do that for all 3 of these blocks, then you're going to get the Benson 3 variation of the humbucker capture. And then channel C is, if you do that for all these, that's the V.S.O.P. And then if you do D, that's the single coil. So basically this single preset can give you basically any guitar that you plug into it, single coil or humbucker or otherwise, you can find a great sound within this one preset, but that's how you change between. So I'll show you all of them really quickly, but let's just go to channel A for now, and that is the Benson 1 variety. And let me just show you the scenes. So just so you know, I'm using a Jennings Navigator with Lambertone's Crema in the neck and Crema in the bridge. I've got another guitar being built for me by Chad right now with Crema in the neck and Grinder in the bridge. That's my preference. So this is a little bit brighter than what I normally do with the Grinder, and the Grinder's a little bit higher output than the Crema, but this guitar rocks and still sounds great with this preset. So let's go to the clean sound here. And then let's go to my first stage drive. And then in second stage drive, which I call crunch. And let's go to 4 drive. Just gonna leave all the mistakes in there for you. And then let's go to the lead. And then I have a lead wet, which is just kind of gnarly, but here it is. And I have a tape ambient. And then finally a swell patch. So now let me show you the different amp variations. We'll just use the clean verb setting for this. Actually, you know what? Maybe let's use the crunch, because with a little bit of drive on it, it might actually accentuate it a little bit more. We'll see. So again, go to Scene Manager, and then I'm going to change all of these to B, which is the Benson 3 capture variation, which essentially the Benson 1 is a traditionally mic'd up the Benson ceramic speaker in the typical position with a 545 mic. The Benson 3 adds a Beyerdynamic M160 mic, so it's a dual mic'd approach, and the 545 is a little closer to the center of the cone. The amp settings are a little bit different too, so it's just a different overall vibe, and so this is that sound. Let's go back to Ben 1 just so you can hear it. So it's cutting a little bit of lows and just has sort of a different high mid-range characteristic to it. Let's go to the V.S.O.P speaker. So that would be C in all scenes. And again, remember this guitar, this crema in the bridge position is going to be sort of on the brighter end anyway. So the V.S.O.P is sort of a brighter speaker to begin with, and then you add the crema and it's pretty bright. Let's compare that to A again. So that's that idea. Now let me show you the single coil version. And pretty much just so you know, when I dial in stuff for humbuckers, I'm almost always dialing them in around a Lambertone's crema or grinder. And for the single coil stuff, I'm always designing them around a guitar with ristrettos. And so I feel like the Lambertone's ristrettos are a good in between. They're a little bit beefier of a single coil, but they still cut through really well like a traditional single coil would. The Lambertone's blondies are a little bit higher output, even a little bit warmer than these ristrettos, at least in this guitar and in my Nash, and so that's on the warmer end. Something like a Strat would be on the maybe even a little bit brighter than this, so I feel like the ristrettos kind of sit in between. So here is that sound. Go one higher. Let's go to the drive on that one. So definitely still on the brighter end of things too, but you can always change stuff and mess around. And I wanted to note that on the chorus block and the trem block, and actually both delay blocks and all the reverb blocks, I'm not necessarily using all of the channels in all of the scenes that I've given you, but I have designed presets essentially in each block that you can play with. So if you want to turn the chorus block on, for example, you can play with auditioning A, B, C, and D and just see what I've done there. So channel A, is that kind of chorus sound. Channel B is a slightly different kind of chorus sound. Compared to A. Subtle, but it's there. So channel C is kind of like the Mobius thing, the Destroyer setting, kind of like a tape warble, if you will. Nothing quite nails that sound, but this kind of gets in the ballpark. And then channel D is kind of like a vibrato. You can turn the depth up if you want it more aggressive. And similarly for the pan trim, you can turn that on and explore the different options I've got. Basic, quarter note, trim, eighth trim, This is just a subtle widening effect. And then the VCA trim. It's a 16th note trim. So there's some options to play with there. Likewise, you can mess around with the delay and the reverb. I won't go over them, all of them at once. One thing I do want to go over though is the extra compressor block right here. I've got that set up to be a little bit more like a Bethel style dual stacked compressor thing. So if you want a little more compression, turn this block on. As opposed to this. I'm messing up all over the place, okay. To this. So I've used that on various songs when I want that really punchy, very percussive sort of clean tone. But it works on the drive channels as well, so you play with that. The pitch block, I've got a different assortment of basically octave stuff going on. So you can kick it on if you're doing like a lead thing. Or this one. Or this one. And then channel D has a virtual capo in case you want to kind of use this as a transpose feature. You can shift that up or down. And you can play with position as well. If you feel like the pitch block works better for you before the compressors, switch it up. It doesn't really make any difference for me and how I designed it. So that's kind of your preference, how you set that up. Just a little note on the drive blocks. So I have created, each drive blocks has 4 channels, and in channel D on both blocks is this SDD preamp. Just want to show you that this is there and is here as well. I use that on both blocks for boost purposes. So if you're ever wanting to, take a drive sound and then boost it, you have that option. And so what I've done, and we'll talk about the layout in just a second, but what I've done is for my first couple stages of drive, I'm just using this first drive block, and you can kind of see the settings here. So number 2 is basically the light speed at these settings, and then number 3 is channel B. It's the king of tone at those settings, and then 4 is essentially the 1981 style drive right there. And this drive block is sort of primed and ready to boost any one of those things. And so again, as I show you in just a second on my layout, you can go to a scene or a foot switch layout where you can toggle this block on and off, and essentially gives you a boost for each of these drive settings. So not only do you have all the scenes to select through, This is primed and ready. It's always on channel D for these scenes, so that whenever you're on, let's say, the crunch scene, you can just kick this on and have an added boost kind of ready to go. So that's sort of what I did and how I programmed it, and I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's helpful. And likewise, you can, if you're using something in this drive block instead, if you prefer some of these settings, you can always boost that with channel D here, and that's the STD preamp, and that will boost into drive block 2. I know I'm going to get the question, can you adjust the controls on the amp, even though these are tone matched presets and work best with these exact amp settings paired with these exact tone matched IRs? Of course you can reach for the amp settings. That's what makes modeling in some ways preferable over capturing. You have more flexibility. It might not sound exactly like the capture, but you do have the benefit of now having this control. You can control the gain, you can control the tone, you can go in here and control the mid-range and the preamp and all this business that you can't do on a capture. And so in some ways modeling gives you that advantage, and so feel free to play around with it. The other thing to play around with, if you're just struggling with EQ, you've tried all 4 different capture variations and there's one of them that's really close but not quite on, again, you can change the amp settings, of course, but you can also go to this first EQ block and just make some changes to dial in your guitar to suit this preset the best. If you want to take off some high end, if you want to roll some of that off, you can. You can adjust the mid-range here. I've not done any presets with these 2 EQ blocks. They're really for you to tailor this to your sound and your ear. So feel free to use these. These are on all the time, but I'm not actually employing them for anything. You can use them as boosts if you want. You can just use one channel and crank up the level as just a clean boost, or conversely, you can take away some level if you want, just if your guitar is hitting these amps too hard, you can do it that way. Or if you just want to use the final EQ block as a overall lead booster, you can do that. Set up a channel with just some extra level and enable that just when you go to a certain lead part, just to have the whole signal pushed through a little bit more and cut through. So this is one of those presets you can use as is. You can copy and paste it and just change the BPM per song if you want to do it that way, or just tap in the tempo for each song and just use this one as this kind of a standalone thing. How I use it, I copy and paste this and make song-specific presets, dial in the BPM first, and then go and fine-tune the drives and the reverbs and the delays for each song. And so if you want to do it that way, be my guest. This is yours to play with, and I hope you enjoy it. So just to close, I'm going to show you the layout on the foot controller really quick. This is layout number 1 and layer 1. I don't know exactly, page 1, whatever you want to say. This, as you can see on the pedal, is the same as the FM9 edit, so I'm going to have both of those open so you can kind of see how they work together. But essentially, these down here are all your presets, and then this is banking, and you can bank up and down to different layers of presets. And then when you hit a preset, it immediately goes into that preset and shows layer number 2, which are all the scenes. And so you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scenes right there. And then this presets button right here gets you back to that first page. So if you click this, then you get back to this page where you can see all your different presets. So essentially, if you're switching between songs, you would say this song, and then to get back to that song list, you'd hit this, and then your next song, and then you're in there. So let's go back and let's hit this one. And so this is our preset that we're working with. The other unique thing about this preset is right now you don't see a spot for a tuner. And I have basically elected for this button to be a hold function. And when I press and hold that, the tuner comes up and your output is muted. And so that's where your tuner is, always on foot switch 1, essentially. And so you just hit it once to get back. The other thing that I was talking about earlier about kind of using this a little bit more freely, if instead of pressing this, you hold it, then you go to layout 3, which is the effects. And so here you can see I have drive 1A, drive 1B, drive 1C. Those are essentially my 3 different channels. So I'm actually going to show you. So if I click C right here, look on the editor. Now you'll notice on the editor nothing is happening because the drive block is not on. Actually, there is stuff happening. It's just that the drive block is still not on. So you have to make sure it is enabled. So drive 1 bypass. So make sure that drive 1 block is on. Now I can go up to that, and now we can see those channels start to change. So if I go drive 1A, that's channel A. That would be your first stage drive, second stage drive, third stage drive, like that. Then, like I mentioned earlier, drive 2, this is always set to be that SDD preamp, which is my kind of boost of choice. And so you can enable that or bypass it on the fly whenever you'd like. And then to get off of this, instead of just, you don't hit this again, that doesn't do anything. But if you press this, that disables that block, and now you're back to the clean tone. And so you can basically prepare what channel you're on before you enable it. So if you know you want to do the second stage drive and then enable it like that, you can do it that way. This is the layout, or the page and the layout where the tap tempo is. So you can do that. It's where your second reverb block is. So if you turn that on, you can see that that second reverb after the amps has turned on. You can hit this, more effects, and that goes to yet another layout, layout number 4. This is where your second compressor is on, essentially the first compressor in the chain, but the second one that I use. You can toggle your pitch block on and off from here. You can also just enable that drive 2 block again. I just put it here for convenience. And then you can enable your chorus or your tremolo block from there, or your delay 2 block. And then after that, you can just go back to the effects and then back to the scenes, and you're back to the scene layout. So there's nothing super fancy in there. Again, if you have your own layout that works for you, feel free to use that. You don't have to use this one, but this is just kind of what I've found works for me. So hey, I hope this resource does truly bless you. It is my heart to give away these resources for free because I have been so blessed by this community over the years, and I just want to say a huge thank you. So this is actually my first Fractal release, and it's absolutely free. More stuff is on the way though, so do check out the website on a regular basis, and please do subscribe to the emails and follow me on Instagram as well so that you can be informed when other amps come out. The Dr. 80 is right on its heels. Might already be out by the time you watch this, but lots of good stuff is coming. So thanks again, and until I see you in the next video, be blessed.